Was Sebastian Vettel born a champion, or was it Red Bull behind all of that success? Well, whatever it was, he managed to bag himself a leadership role at Red Bull. But how did he do it? Let's go all the way back to find out. First of all, how did he go from being a cheeky young amateur to becoming the ruthless force who couldn't care less about team orders?
Everything we have, possess, or share inside Formula One is given to us by people from the outside.
So I worked previously at Red Bull Racing with Mark Webber and David Coulthard, and then Sebastian joined the team, replacing DC.
Well, the F1 driver decided to call it quits with the team back in 2015. And can you believe that it was the dramatic end of a 7-year-long partnership? Yeah, I can't either. Anyway, he's got a credit to the team for his 39 Formula One wins, along with his 4 back-to-back championship titles. After all, that's what fans know him for, right? But after he moved to Ferrari,
he was very hardworking. I think he was one of the last people actually always leaving the paddock. He just gave everything to win the championship. That was one of his biggest dreams at the beginning.
It might be time to stop, time to do something else, or time to keep going. And I believe, obviously I've made my decision, everyone knows. But yeah, I think I have more to give, and I'm looking forward to the task with a new environment, new team, new spirit.
Let's just say it was super disappointing. All he managed to do was grab another 14 wins and say goodbye to titles over the next 6 seasons. But that's not the Vettel we know, right? Having said that, he tried his luck at Aston Martin for another 2 seasons. But we all know how that went.
He is a very determined person, very focused, attention to detail, and a team player, a proper team player as well.
So about a month after his retirement, he's making a comeback to Red Bull. And if you're wondering where I got this juicy rumor from, let's just say Helmut Marko, the longtime lead of the team's driver development program, decided to make it official. And while we're at it, let's not forget that Marko pretty much built his entire legacy on hiring Vettel and putting him in the perfect spot to make it to the top. And it seems like he's also the one who stepped forward with a new role at Red Bull for its former driver. On the other hand, all we know is that he's never gonna come back behind the wheel ever again. But that doesn't mean that he's out of the sport entirely, right? Well, I wouldn't really put it like that.
I'm here today to have a go in the Vantage F1 edition. Now Aston Martin is back in Formula One, and I think there will be lots of things that will be inspired by what we do on the track. You know, the car is more powerful, more performant in general. Let's see what that car says.
If anything, don't you think he had a lot more to offer other than his racing talent? And while we'd love to get some confirmation, it seems like Marko and Vettel already talked this through before he spilled the news to us. While trying to gauge the German's interest, he made it pretty clear that any top management role, whether that's at Red Bull or its junior team, Scuderia AlphaTauri, would be just about what he needs to make a comeback to Formula One. What started off as a harmless and friendly conversation about his future ended up as a life-changing discussion about his F1 career. Sure, we want to know what he wants to do next, but a top management role at his former team wasn't really something that was on our list either. Now let's not forget that we gotta be clear on what Vettel wants to do right before Red Bull whips up another contract for the German. Because if you ask Horner and Marko, they've set their expectations sky high already. But wait, isn't this role exciting enough? It seems like right now, he's not too sure if he wants to take up the big title for the team. But do you think he's gonna make the move to Red Bull? Because I'm not too sure. Whether he does that or not, his legacy with the program is definitely unmatched. Think about it. Who won 4 of the program's 6 drivers' championships? Vettel. Who led the team to 4 of its 5 back-to-back championships? Vettel. Need I say more? And if that wasn't enough, Christian Horner said that the team even got a data center named after the German. And let's not forget that this role did not come out of thin air. If anything, he sorta turned into a driver counselor over the past couple of years. In fact, Horner calls him a great people person. And wouldn't you agree? It seems like he can blend with anything and practically mold himself for the job. And that's exactly why Horner thinks he'd make a great fit for the team. In fact, add another person to the list. Aston Martin team principal Mike Crack. He worked with Vettel right when he made his F1 debut with BMW Sauber and during his final season on the grid. And while he definitely thinks Vettel would be amazing for the big title, he's not too sure if the 35-year-old would even be interested in the first place. Sure, he's got the personality and skill, but let's not forget his time as an F1 driver, because it turns out a pretty respected Formula 1 analyst said that he was nothing more than an ordinary racing driver if the car did not suit his style. And sure, he had a pretty glittering career that came to an end not too long ago. He was the youngest ever F1 world champion. He won 4 championships back-to-back. But what about his driving style? Because the former Williams and Ferrari team manager, Peter Windsor, said that Vettel's driving style was pretty limited. If anything, he never really addressed the weaknesses that struck out during his final season with Red Bull back in 2014. And I'm talking about the same time when his teammate Daniel Ricciardo overtook him every single time. Sure, Vettel came off as a pretty spontaneous, yet well-balanced driver. But when he didn't have the right car under the right regulations, there wasn't a lot he could do. And I saw that when he seemed to struggle against Ricciardo on the F1 grid. But instead of working on it, he simply decided to call it quits and switched over to Ferrari. Because at Red Bull, he was the guy who could not move past his teammate. And at Ferrari, he was the 4-time world champion showered with money and fans. But that was the end of it. He never really got better. He was just the same. Don't get us wrong, that's what the F1 analyst had to say, and I'm not trying to discredit his talent. I'm just saying that maybe he should be even more careful making decisions around his F1 career now, because even though he's up for a big title, he's stepping into controversy. How? Well, we know how absolutely controversial the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix back in 2021 turned out to be. And right after Masi lost the title of F1's race director, an overwhelming majority of the F1 community seemed to be happier than we expected. On the other hand, Vettel wants him back. Let's be clear that Masi never got enough public support after getting fired anyway. But Vettel seems to have noticed a bunch of issues with Formula 1 having 2 very different race directors. And since he wasn't really happy with how the decision-making was carried out, along with the lack of experience, he wants Masi to make a comeback soon. But do you think the controversial ex-director has a spot in Formula 1 anymore? And whether that's because of his experience or anything else, do you think Vettel should be making a controversial statement like that at this point? After all, his F1 career is at a turning point, and we think he should take advantage of that instead of trying to sink his ship. But what we want to know from you is, do you think Sebastian Vettel is the perfect fit for a top management role at Red Bull? Let us know in the comments below. And with that, that's a wrap on today's video. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.